Hey everyone's Phil Chop back in their video, and today we are talking about Agzul. I had a request from Channel Points by Epic Nightmare to go ahead and build out Agzul here, and we took some ideas from him and built out the Ash 14 comp with him. And it is a 2-minute comp here, but it does require some solid stats and a little bit of investment, but it is a very, very quick comp without Gengello. We're using Gengello's brother instead. Let's jump into it. So this is the team right here. We're going to be using Nathalia, Hakron, Agzul, and Celestial Kane. It is a very, very quick comp, and it is pretty awesome to see. We're going to be using Last Breath and Defense Down. Now, the trick here is for Agzul to go ahead and die off, similar to the Ice Wolf comp, and apply a bunch of poisons here. Celestial Kane's going to use the invincibility to go ahead and immune the boss's big hit. And then, of course, Hakron's there to just provide the extra survivability and defense, and Nathalia is there to clear out the first couple of waves. Now, I will say, with my current stats, this is not a very consistent win rate here. But I will say that when we lose, we are usually within 500 to 2,000 damage of killing off the boss. That's pretty much every single loss I've had. And so if you 60 up Celestial Kane, or if you get some extra stats on your Agzul and Nathalia, which we'll go over in just a second here, this will be a 100% win rate. So let's dive into some of the stats and showcase how and why I'm running at a little bit lower of a win rate, because you do need some really, really solid stats for this. So we're starting off with Celestial Kane here, and this is one of the hardest characters to build. I mean, honestly, they're all very difficult to build. The problem is that in order for you to kill off the boss, you need high damage on your Nathalia or high damage on your Agzul. And then if you can't get it there, you're going to need high damage on your Hakron and high damage on your Celestial Kane. But you also need them to reach certain stats that they need to get to. So first things first, you definitely want to 60 your Celestial Kane. I do not have the ability to right now. I have a lot of other projects I'm working on. But if you do, you're going to get extra attack, extra defense, extra HP, and you'll be more survivable, and you'll deal more damage. Now, one thing to note with these stats is you'll want 100% crit rate, but you also want 80% focus in order to avoid the very rare scenario of us actually being targeted by our Nathalia, by all the imps, and we actually end up losing our Nathalia later on. This is completely fixed by 80% focus. You do want to go before the waves here, so above 128 speed here. 131 is perfect. And then you also are going to want a little bit of HP and defense and attack, depending on how much your stats your Agzul and your Nathalia actually have. You want him to survive and not die from the bomb in the end. I'm actually running a revival set. Suggest that you do, if you do need some attack stats. As you can see, we're running double attack percentage and crit rate on the ring because we need the extra damage. So I am running a revival set in order to keep him alive. If your Nathalia is good enough, you can just run whatever you want on this guy as long as he has the focus and HP. It doesn't really matter. Next one up is going to be Agzul here. And Agzul, what I like to run on him is going to be the Avarice set. In order for your ultimate to be super, super solid in order to deal a bunch of damage. Now, for those of you that are wondering why we're using Agzul, and some people ask, why don't you use Santis? Well, for one, Santis is too fast. So you'll see here, Agzul's base speed is 88, and he only gets a little bit of speed from his glyphs. You'll see 19. Santis is already at a natural faster than the boss if you have her glyphed and Ascension 5. So you're not going to be able to use Santis. It's going to be slower, it's going to be requiring more gear, and you're just going to have a worse time off, which is why Agzul was recommended. And there's two things. One is when an imp dies, we're applying a poison to all enemies for 3 turns, which is a lot of poisons. And then we're also applying a 3-turn poison with the ultimate here. Now, keep in mind that Santis generally doesn't apply multiple poisons with her passive because the Ash boss takes multiple turns, so these 3-turn poisons are super, super solid. And also remember that Agzul is going to be dying off. We're going to kill multiple imps, and we're going to be able to use the ultimate multiple times in the battle. And so this allows us to do multiple 3-turn poisons, which is really, really amazing. Now, Agzul here is actually probably the hardest to gear because you're going to need 80% focus, max crit rate, as much crit damage and attack as you can get in an Avarice set. Now, the one thing that doesn't matter is his speed. You can have him as slow as possible. It doesn't really matter. I actually like him extremely slow so that he goes after the imps in the boss wave, which is really, really important for him to keep the immunity on for when the imps go. But generally, it doesn't matter too much because you're going to die off anyway, so it really doesn't matter all that much. So these are the stats for our Agzul. Again, I said Avarice set. You're going to need that extra damage generally. And then the next up is going to be Nathalia here, and Nathalia is going to need some really, really solid stats. You're going to need as much attack and crit damage as humanly possible. Preferably, this would be like 4,800 attack and 330 crit damage. I think if you had that, you'd have max win rate. You probably only need about 50 to 100 more attack on your Nathalia to make sure it's 100% consistent. You're going to want her to be faster than Celestial Cain, but slower than Hakron here. An extra HP and defense is nice if you can get it. You don't care about focus, you don't care about resistance or anything like that, but you do want her faster than Celestial Cain, slower than Hakron, and then obviously slower than the boss itself, as well as everyone else here. Just a little bit of extra damage stats on your Nathalia. I'm not running any specific set generally, just, you know, Raider and Warrior, just stat sets. And then the last one is going to be Hakron here. Now, with Hakron, you do want him to be the fastest member on your squad, and you're going to want him to have as much defense as possible, as well as, if you can get it, 45 agility. It helps make this comp a little bit more consistent. And you don't really care about focus all that much, but you do want as much defense and HP as possible, because if you do that, anything that can go wrong, your Hakron can actually manage it himself. I just did not re-gear my Hakron because it would mess up all my other comps here, but you can either get more damage stats than your Nathalia or just make your Hakron tankier with 45 agility, and it will work completely fine. We're going to jump into the run here and just showcase how it works and show exactly why the run is going to fail or not. As I said, it's about a 50% win rate here with this comp currently because I am missing just a little tiny bit of damage. But we're going to run here and just really showcase this comp. It's really no different from in these first couple of waves as your standard Ash 14 comp with Hakron. Oh, I did want to mention that Hakron does have a revival set, but your Hakron's going to go first. He's going to put the max HP up, which is going to give Nathalia a buff. She's going to go ahead and ult, clear out one portion of the waves, and then you could see there that Agzul actually procced his passive, and that's why he's super, super good in this slot, because you're going to apply 3-turn poisons multiple times. There's the ultimate. It does quite a bit of damage. Nathalia's going to go ahead and finish off these imps. Now, in this second round, I'll showcase why Celestial Cain actually wants that 80% focus. Right here, Nathalia is going to kill off all the imps except for the big one. And if the big imp hits Nathalia and doesn't get deflected, then you'll have perhaps an issue later on in the battle. It requires multiple things to go wrong. So 80% focus makes sure that this doesn't happen. But as you can see, we got resisted. And so he could hit anyone. He happened to hit my Celestial Cain, which doesn't really matter. But if he happens to not get deflected by Nathalia and hits Nathalia, and then the boss doesn't get deflected here, then you might have a problem. And then in this scenario, defense down goes out. You're going to kill off 3 of the imps, and then Celestial Cain is going to have his ultimate back up. Agzul is going to put that 3-turn poison out on the boss here, and then the invincibility goes up. The imps go, and they hit. Agzul is going to go on an ult, and then the bomb is going to go out. It doesn't matter who it goes on because Celestial Cain will go ahead and cleanse it off on the following turn. Last Breath goes ahead and revives Agzul after he dies, so we can apply another round of his poison once these imps die. Boom, there goes the extra 3-turn poison, and then he can go ahead and ult here. Now, the boss will always hit Celestial Cain on this turn because the other 2 are water, so he will guarantee cleanse off all of the nasty bombs if they do end up on Hakron, or if they end up on Celestial Cain himself. Then, in this scenario, this is where you need a little bit of damage, or I need a little bit of extra damage, because Celestial Cain has a chance to only hit twice on that basic for these next 2 turns. The boss is going to go ahead and heal a little bit, and they're going to end up, usually it depends on the run, but this scenario, they could end up at 1% HP or 500 to 2k HP. And so a real quick fix to that is for me to 60 my Celestial Cain, because we're only missing just that little bit of damage. But right here, you're going to see that we actually ended up killing off the boss, and it was really no issues, but that doesn't happen every single time. That's really due to the amount of damage that we don't have on some of our characters. Let's check out this ring here. It's pretty poor. So we're going to go ahead and run that again and just showcase what a failed run looks like, because it does happen a decent amount of time here. So we're back at the boss stage, and I just wanted to showcase what happens when we do fail. It's really just that matter of either Nathalia, Celestial Kane not hitting the right amount of numbers on his basic ability, Nathalia getting the low roll damage of your damage, because in this game you have a variable damage number. There's so many different factors in regards to us not dealing that last like 1.5 thousand damage. This is another factor. If they put a bomb on Agzul, you can go ahead and stun our Celestial Kane, which will cause us to do like 1,000 less damage, which will cause us to not do enough damage. So all of those factors can be indicative of not doing enough damage. And again, most of it will be solved if you go ahead and just 6-star your Celestial Kane, because it'll do more damage before, or get more damage on your Nathalia. Or you could build crit rate on your Hackren if you want, which will help you deal that last bit of damage as well. You can see right here, Celestial Kane only hit twice, but we should have enough damage still in order for us to finish this off. Boss is going to be at 16%. We'll see here. Hopefully Nathalia can do... Okay, it's actually at 7%, so this might be a situation where we don't get enough damage. But you'll see there, Celestial Kane actually hit 6 times, which is the max amount of times that you can hit. If you only hit 2 there, it's very possible that we wouldn't have enough damage here. The boss is at, right here, 885 HP, so this is a perfect situation of us showcasing that loss. You'll see here he's at 450 HP, and this is another scenario where if your Hackren goes and has agility on him, or things like that, you also have another chance to survive. In this case, you'll go ahead and finish him off with the ultimate ability. This won't happen every time. Really, what you'll want to do is prevent this scenario entirely and just deal that last 900 damage. It's literally always about 500 to 2k damage, depending on how the damage rolls. That's the only damage we're missing, and it really is solved by a 6-star Celestial Kane, or just a little bit more damage on your other units. So that is the Agzul Ash 14 or Hell Stage 2 comp. It's pretty fun, and it's actually very, very viable being a 2-minute comp here. And if you don't have Gagello and you have the stats to run this comp, very, very, very viable. The only problem is that you do need solid stats. You need a solid Avarice set for your Agzul, or you just need really, really good Nathalia stats. But that'll be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you will be building out Agzul if you want to use this comp. And I'll see you for the next one.